Hello, this is Katrina Poston, and welcome to my PLN site. Upon the landing, you'll notice that there's just a basic screen. It says Professional Learning Networks, and I tried to keep everything clean and neat and streamlined in designing the website. And so as you're browsing, it's just a straight shot right down the page, or you can use the links at the top of the page. So the first section a user would encounter would be about PLNs. Here you'll find a short blurb of what a PLN is typed up by me. And then two videos. The reason I chose two is because they both contain relevant and important information about professional learning networks. So once a visitor sees or they view this information, then they would move on to using social media as a PLN tool. And then in this section is just a brief overview of getting started with social media. And the number one thing that I've told people that I've shared PLN information with so far is to start where you are. And so that's the first thing that I say on the site. Like, don't go creating a bunch of accounts like all over the place and then you may not use them. So just start where you are. If you're already on Facebook, start with Facebook. If you're already on Twitter, start there. Just start where you are. And then you subscribe to professionals or groups that are of interest to you. And then don't just lurk, you kind of, share ideas and best practices. So from there, we go to the getting started page. And then here's where things start shooting outward. So depending on the tool that the user is most interested in, that page will give them information on getting started. So if I'm a visitor to the page and I click the Facebook link, the next page that I see is using Facebook to grow my PLN. The first video is just a basic beginner's guide to Facebook, signing up for an account, adding a profile picture, things like that. And then 3 steps to joining Facebook groups that I've created. Of all the social media sites that I've seen, Facebook is probably the easiest one to find groups on. And then the very last video is how to create a Facebook group. So if you're interested in creating your own group to grow your PLN or connecting perhaps your PLC to a PLN, this is a good way of getting started. And then down below that are some suggestions on groups to join on Facebook and people to follow on Facebook. So this is done for every social media tool that I have suggested, and it's not just social media. So there's Facebook, there's a page for Twitter, there's a page for LinkedIn, but then there's one for the teaching channel, which we haven't talked a lot about, but I've found it to be extremely useful. Tons and tons of videos and message boards, and people there are very responsive. This website is especially helpful to teachers who need to see things in practice in order to grasp how it's done. So there's information about the teaching channel, Google Plus, and then Edmodo. And so just like the Facebook page, when they click it, they're first given an introductory video and then a more in-depth video on how to use that technology tool to grow their PLN. So after browsing there, learning about what PLNs are, how to get started using social media to start a PLN or to get started with growing your PLN. Scrolling down to the next section, we start talking about starting a PLN at your school and cultivating a community of collaboration. So a lot of us in this section, I talk about PLCs and connecting PLCs to PLNs. A lot of us belong to PLCs, whether they're formal or informal. At my school, I belong to several. I am on the middle school team as a sixth grade teacher. I'm also the lead of the grades 4, 5, 6 band, which is a PLC. And then I'm on the instructional leadership team, which is a PLC. I head up the tech PLC. And so there are all these different PLCs that we may not even realize we belong to. We all meet, we collaborate, we track data, we set goals. We are a PLC. And so you can use that and connect your PLC to a PLN. And so in this section, I talk about that. Whether you use the tools that are already set up by your district. For example, in Baltimore City, we are heavy on Microsoft products. So we use Office 365 and we use SharePoint a lot. So if you want to use something that's already set up by your district or branch out and try something else, then that's what you can do. And so if someone were to click here, then they would go back to the getting started with the PLN section and choose the tool that they want to use. From there, they can use this handy little pop-out graphic and, just start following through the steps. You plant the seed, you nourish the crop, you weed, you harvest, and then you regenerate the crop by harvesting the seeds and rescattering. Which I love this graphic, by the way. We started planting our seeds in January and they've grown into something pretty awesome. And then from this section, users would go to my personal PLN. So I have a little blurb about me because they're all going to be like, hey, who is this person? And so there's a little bio about me. And then I talk about, or I don't talk about them in depth, but I give examples of my PLCs. And so here are the PLCs that I had mentioned, belonging to the middle school PLC, my school family, the 4, 5, 6 PLC, and then here's my cohort. We are a PLC. We collaborate. We learn together. We talk about a lot of things, and then just some other, whether formal or informal PLCs that I may belong to. My school network, city schools, the district math teachers, district language arts teachers, etc. And then from there, someone could visit my global PLN page. My global PLN page is where, I don't want to say this is where I put in the most work, but this is, I feel like, where I put the most thought into the work, because I really wanted to showcase how my PLN has grown since taking this class. And so that's the first thing I say, like, before becoming connected, my PLN was small. It was tiny. It just consisted of the people that I worked with or PDs that we would have in the district, my professor and my classmates. But then after that, I was able to make new connections. And so now my new connections, I'm on Twitter. I've already had a Facebook page, but now I've expanded it from personal to professional use. I use Edmodo to connect to people, Pinterest boards, LinkedIn, and Google Plus is becoming, a fast favorite of mine also. And then I put together, I put both graphics together just so you can see how much my PLN has grown. And I'm really excited about that. And scrolling down a little further, I talk a little bit about Twitter chats and how awesome it is. And here is our Twitter chat that our group, the Techies, hosted on teaching soft skills in the digital age. And then I give users some more information on hosting Twitter chats, and then they can click here to see a schedule of education chats on Twitter. And then to kind of round things out, I talk about just a little bit about the people I follow and how I participate. And so some of the people I follow on Twitter: Sarah the Teacher, Google for Education, Flat Connections, Ron Clark Academy, awesome school that I hope to visit one day, Cool Cat Teacher, Common Sense Ed. And then I go on to list the groups I belong to on Facebook, people I follow on Facebook, groups I belong to on LinkedIn, and the Google Plus communities that I belong to. And then there's a section where visitors can click to connect with me. And so that rounds out my PLN website. So hopefully you found this to be sufficient. And if you have any questions, feel free to connect.